God who makes the mountains melt, come wrestle us and win. Oh God who makes the mountains melt, come wrestle us and win.
Hello everyone, Living Bread Ministries here with another video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today I am not actually going to continue in 1 John, what was scheduled. Instead, we're going to take just a 1 week break and we're going to check out an idea. Now, this is fundamentally different than my other videos. First and foremost, because I'm not coming from a specific passage in Scripture. That doesn't mean that I don't believe that you could prove this throughout Scripture, but with a fear of reading an idea into the Scripture instead of discovering it and presenting it, I'm just going to explain the idea, but like I said, I do think it is backed by Scripture in general. And the idea here is that Christianity is not stupid. And what I mean by stupid is that it's not inherently anti-intellectual. Okay? Where this comes from is that I have a lot of doubts and fears that every once in a while rise within me. I maybe enjoy is not the right word, but I guess why would you do something so many times if you don't enjoy it? But I listen to a lot of atheist, agnostic podcasts. I listen to a lot of people who were Christian, who are not, or people who are very militant against Christianity. I also listen to a lot of people, and this seems like it's more popular, especially on YouTube. I listen to a lot of people who they say Christianity is fine in what it does, and that it helps people get through life, and that the faith behind Christianity is fine, but the basis for it has absolutely no intellectual foundation. But if you separate the intellectual, evidence-based self and you say, look, I am one of those people, but I am also religious because it is practical. I hear a lot of that too. That has become really popular, kind of this agnostic, I don't really know, but Christianity in general is anti-intellectual, so, if you have it, fine, but if you don't, it doesn't matter. I also have the fear and the doubt that crops up, and actually this is what prompted this video, because after talking to my wife, I've started to think that maybe a lot of people have this thought crop up maybe every few months or once a year or every few years. What if when I die, that's it? What if I'm wasting my life following Christ? What if, because this is another argument that's very popular among the intellectuals across YouTube and across the internet, what if God isn't there and Christians have been fooled by a combination of our biological urges for community and for other things, and culture and your parents and this just kind of being taught into you? What if that's true? So sometimes that hits me, and after talking to my wife, I think that maybe that hits a lot of Christians. And so what this video is it's a thought process that I personally go through when I'm confronted with those doubts. Or, you can only hear Christians are idiots so many times before you question, are they idiots? Our culture, our entire education system looks down on the objective reality of God. And so, there are only so many times that you can hear that without it affecting you. Now, there is kind of a caveat here. This is for Christians. So it's not going to be really apologetic, which means I'm going to take you through my thought process, the things that I think about when those doubts arise. But this thought process is more for comfort, not to convince. I believe that this argument is used a lot of times as an apologetic, and I do think it's useful, and it is useful. But that is not my purpose in this video. How that practically makes a difference is that I'm just going to assert these things, and I'm not going to argue against the current kind of answer that atheist, agnostic intellectuals have to these ideas. And I'm just kind of comforting those who maybe feel crushed by the pressure of culture and society as it moves more secular here in the West. So here's my thought process, and I pray and I hope that this helps you. So when these doubts and these fears arise in my mind, when I'm laying in bed late at night and I think about these things, what if I die and that's it? What if I'm wasting my life? What if there isn't a God and I've been tricked by biological urges and culture? What if the culture and the education system are correct and Christianity is separate from intellectualism, and you can be intellectual and Christian, but you have to separate them because there's no real intellectual evidence for Christianity. Here's my thought process. So Christianity is not stupid. It's not anti-intellectual. Here's what comforts me. What comforts me is taking a logical walk through what I know is for sure true. And this doesn't get all the way to a logical conclusion of Jesus died on the cross, but this is something to kind of rid myself of those fears. Number one is that I exist. I know that I exist. I know it. I have to exist. I don't know that you exist. I don't know that this world exists. It might all be a hologram. I could be a memory in the brain of a butterfly. I could have just been created this very second, and all of my memories could have been created along with me, and I just came into existence. But I know that I exist. I know it for 100% fact. Okay? I exist. That's where I start, because you can't get more rock solid than I exist. I exist. Now, what I think of next is that I did not create myself. I did not create myself. Now, the reason I know I did not create myself, and let's say that I created myself and then I forgot, okay? Or that matter created itself, and so even though I don't have a memory of creating myself, the matter that makes up my body created itself billions of years ago. The way I know that I did not create myself, that my matter did not create itself, is a really interesting logical argument, but I'm going to sum it up like this. You can't do something before you exist. So you can't create yourself because before you existed, you didn't exist to create. Maybe a simpler way to put this is you can't be your own father because you weren't born yet, okay? Or you can't be your own mother because you weren't born yet. So I know that I exist. I know it. And I know that I did not create myself, which means there must be another thing that exists outside of me that did create me. So there are some things that we can know about this creator just by definition, and that's what we've done here with the creator's existence. The first thing that we can know by definition is that the creator must have a will. Okay? The creator must have a will. Now you say, well, what does that mean? That means that the creator must have the ability to choose to create me. So the creator, for example, can't just be a force, because a force doesn't have a will. It doesn't change. Like gravity doesn't decide to turn on and turn off at will. And because my creation was a finite moment, then whatever created me must have the ability to choose to create me in that point of existence, and that point and to start time and all these different things. So the creator must have a will. Whatever created me must have the ability to choose to create me. The second thing that I can deduce about my creator, just by definition, is that whatever created me must be powerful enough to create me. Okay, so if I exist and I did not create myself because I could not, then whatever else is out there that did create me must have the ability to create me. Mostly because whatever created me succeeded in creating me. Okay? So, simple, logical steps. I exist. I did not create myself, which means there's another thing out there that created me. It must have had the will to create me because it chose to. It must have the power or the ability to create me because it succeeded in the activation of its will. And the third thing is that it must be intelligent enough to create me. We are complex beings, complex creatures. We have complex emotions. We have a complex physical structure. We are very, very complex. We are a very complex design. So whatever created us must have had enough intelligence to create such an intricate design. Now, this thought process, especially when you look out at reality and you look at our compassion and our love and different things that have formed out of society and different the way that nature interacts with itself, and there's a lot of other implications that you can draw from here. But when I have this doubt, this dark cloud spring up in my head that says, everybody you listen to today, or I do not exclusively listen to atheist and agnostic speakers, but let's say 50% of the people who you respect when it comes to thought and philosophy and intellectual discovery think that you are just an idiot. What if you are? What if you have been tricked? What if all of these fears and doubts that kind of linger in the back of your mind, what if they are true? And here's what I do is I stop and I take this logical journey. I exist. I know that I exist. I know that I did not create myself. I know that I don't have the ability. I don't have the power. I didn't exist in order to create myself. So what do I know about my Creator? I know that my Creator has a will, that it makes choices. I know that it's not just a force. I know that my Creator is powerful enough to create me. And I know that Creator is intelligent enough to do that, to create me, to create this complex thing that exists that is me. I know these things, and if you are a Christian, then what is so helpful and what kind of gives you that sigh of relief, or gives me that sigh of relief, is that sounds exactly like God. That is exactly what I read in Scripture about Him, from Genesis to Revelation, is that the Bible teaches that God is so powerful, that He creates out of nothing, that He creates just by His word, just by His will, His decision to create. I know that God, His ways are not my ways, that His mind is so far above my mind, that He is intelligent enough to create me. That is the God that I am told about in the Scripture. And that's so comforting to me. And so I really just wanted to share that with you, because I was laying in bed this week, and that little thought came across my mind after listening all day to these different people, and considering some of my fears and some of my doubts, and I was ready to continue with you through 1 John, but there was just something in the back of my mind that and in my heart, and I just couldn't get this thought out of my mind. So I decided to share it with you guys. So guys, listen, especially to my Christian brothers and sisters out there. This is not to say that some Christians aren't dumb, aren't stupid, because there are plenty, and I've listened to them too, and it breaks my heart sometimes to see that people are so afraid that maybe their faith is not based in reality, or that their faith is not based in something that is concrete or that has evidence, that they're afraid to interact in the intellectual world or interact with logic. And what I want to do is I want to just encourage you that that's not the case. Reality is on our side. God has given us a mind so that we can understand Him. Romans plainly teaches that. And so I just want to encourage you that when you're faced with those doubts, remember, you know you exist. You know you have a Creator. You know that Creator is powerful enough to create you, that He chose to create you, and that you are a complex being, and so your Creator must also be a complex Creator. And that is God. And you know that. And so quelch those doubts with maybe some intellectual ammo this time. So I want to thank you all for checking out the video. Next week on Monday, I will continue through 1 John, and we will look at how John interacts with some of the false teachers of his day, and how he encourages those Christians against their culture, encourages those Christians against the Gnostic culture that says, look, you guys don't have the knowledge we have. You might have a little bit of it, you might have a piece of it, but we have the true, the high, the righteous above all knowledge, and come to us to get it. So John is really going to be combating a lot of things that you may face as a Christian in the 21st century, especially if you interact with some of these intellectual YouTube videos, and if you allow that into your mind, which obviously I think is good, since I do it so often. So I pray that this video was helpful for you, and I pray that you all have a good week, and I will see you next time. As always, if and only if our all-powerful intellectual creator, Jesus Christ, says the same.